Well, Heidi ho, welcome to a Friday edition split screen of the Dennis and Andy show. I tell you, I go one day, I skip a shower, and Dennis is like, oh, you know what? I think I'll stay at my house today. I get it. I see where your loyalties lie.
Yep. Olfactory. Stay away.
Fantastic. I'm Andy, as everybody knows, the glorious bald one, the Picard of the show, the Professor Xavier of everything.
And I'm Dennis. I'm apparently Captain Kirk because I got a full set of hair and all the ladies like me.
Yeah. Well, and I have noticed that when your wife eats your cooking, sometimes she'll turn green. So
that's
Captain
cool.
Kirk has bedded down green babes, and you get your wife sick. So there you go.
Yep, like the Orions.
That's right. So today we'll be talking about WandaVision.
Yeah, we finally got caught up. I mean, we've been talking about WandaVision, but we had decided not to really do a full-blown review on it until we got in there to realize if we were going to kind of like it. It started off a little slow the first couple of weeks, and we'll talk about that. We'll kind of break them down, but we did get through and we watched episode 4, and yep, we're on track. We understand everything's cool. We're going to talk a little bit about theories. We're going to talk, what we think of the show and what they've done with it. And there's going to be spoilers, so if you haven't watched any of it yet, sorry. I mean, you might want to turn us off, but if not, don't worry about it. You're going to want to listen.
So it started off, it's on 4 episodes, like Dennis said. We're all caught up. It starts off, and basically the first episode, they do a Dick Van Dyke Show ripoff. It was cute. It was fun. You didn't really learn anything. I mean, you kind of got, if you don't know anything, I guess, about Scarlet Witch, you're probably like, even from the standpoint of the movies, you wouldn't know this. So you actually need to know more about her from the comics to realize, oh crap, she's creating this world, and it was okay. I mean, I thought they did a nice job. It was a nice. I was talking to another friend of mine about it, and he was like, I liked it, but at the same time, if I want to watch a Dick Van Dyke Show, I'll watch a Dick Van Dyke Show.
Yeah, what they did, some of the interesting things that they did was, when they filmed, so the first episode was the 50s, second episode was filmed in the 60s, we'll talk about it, third in the 70s, etc. The interesting thing was, they wanted to recreate it, so I'm going to give them some kudos for this. How do you recreate something like that? They actually filmed it using the equipment of that era. That's why, you don't see it as a widescreen. You see it as an old 16:9. They actually use the cameras for it and run it through using that old technology to film it. They didn't retro.
Did they really?
Yeah. Yep.
So
that is cool. They wanted it to feel and look completely like if you were watching a 50s or a 60s show. And it succeeded. I thought it looked quite good.
They did succeed in that, for sure. I thought it looked good, too. I was just like, in the end of the first episode and the end of the second episode, they showed a little bit, you could say, in the real world, and just gave you enough to go, I mean, they really did tease you, because at the end of the first episode, you're like, oh, real world, I want to know what's happening. And then the show ends, because you don't really know how long the first one is.
Yep.
And then the second one, like Dennis said, took place in the 60s, and that was a Bewitched type of send-up. And same thing, that show ended, and they teased a little more, and there were some Easter eggs in that one. I guess there were Easter eggs in the first one, too.
Yeah, each one's had it. Kevin Feige's a really big fan, comic book fan, and he loved to stick in Easter eggs, and he did a nice job. The cliffhanger at the end, what was kind of interesting was, you see this helicopter that's actually colored because everything's in black and white, sitting there, and Wanda picks it up out of the bushes, and she's looking at it. And it's got like the sword symbol, but she doesn't know what that is, and she's just looking, and it's not a helicopter from that era, and you're trying to understand what's going on. So they come in there, and this is Agatha. So this is one of or Agnes. This is one of the
Easter eggs.
One of the characters, yeah, that everybody's trying to figure out. Is this Agnes Harkness?
Yeah,
and I think it is. And for those of you that don't know, the next one will show she's actually a Marvel comic character. She's a witch, and the interesting thing now is she the one? Is she actually in the show as that character? Is she helping manipulate this? Is she trapped in there? Does she know more than what she's letting on? So there's a lot of theories about her role, being in there. Because even in the comic books, there are times where she's a big help, to Scarlet Witch, to Wanda. And there are times where she's not. So she's not always a white hat. She's not always a black hat. It's an interesting character. And they haven't given us too much to go on through 4 episodes.
Well, that's the thing that, we'll jump around here I found interesting is, go back to just us. One of the things I found interesting in episode 4 is, like I said, this does contain spoilers. In episode 4, they actually tried to track down. So in episode 4, to basically recap, they bring in Darcy. That's her name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Darcy. They bring her back. She was in Thor, and some other scientists and specialties, other fields. And she basically, through some equipment and through getting old TVs, because of how the signal is being transmitted, they're able to watch. This is the 1950s, what's going on. And basically, the episode 4 takes place at the same time episode 1 was taking place for us. So they kind of backtrack to show what was happening on the outside. Because basically Scarlet Witch, it looks like, created this city in New Jersey that's never been there. And the local cops are like, no, you don't understand. This isn't a real city. This has never been here.
Yeah, it's Westville. And you go, Westville doesn't exist. And they're like, well, and Kat Dennings, who, of course, she's always the comic relief, but they're trying to figure out, well, Monica Rambeau's in there. And she's like, well, where are you from? Well, we're from Eastville. And they literally get in their car and like drive. And there's a big town, a big sign right there that says Westville with the population, 3,200, whatever. And you're just like, but that town doesn't exist. Nobody has a recollection of anybody in that town. It's like mass amnesia, and it's also outside of the city limits. So Wanda is affecting more than just a very localized area, although that's where the field is that you can see.
Well, the other thing I thought that was very cool, and so did Courtney, the beginning of episode 4, we're introduced to Monica Rambeau, and she, when Thanos snapped at the end of Infinity War, she actually was one of the ones that blipped away. So it was cool the way they filmed it, because they showed like these dust particles, and right then I knew what was happening. I'm like, oh shit, somebody's reemerging, and it was showing the people, reforming from the dust. So basically your reverse of going to dust. This was the dust particles reforming, and she was reformed in a hospital room, and it was awesome because she comes running out of the hospital room like, what the heck? And you see other people in the hospital, doctors, nurses, patients, all like reforming, and staff is just like, what the hell is going on? Because remember, that was 5 years after Infinity War.
Right. And they tied into Infinity War very well.
Oh, they tied into it. Well, Endgame, actually. They tied it into Endgame.
Yeah, Endgame.
Yeah, when everybody came back, because in Endgame, when everybody came back, they didn't show anything. They just showed the Hulk snap his fingers with the Infinity Gauntlet on, and then you knew everybody came back when the portals opened up and Doctor Strange and all the Avengers came through, but they didn't actually show anybody reforming. But in this, it was just awesome to see people reforming. And then you've got, we won't spoil everything, but you got some more backstory on Monica, on her character.
Well, the interesting thing about Monica was they introduced her.
Right.
And but she's actually a character starting, I think, in the second episode. She's black and white. She's one of the neighborhood ladies and stuff. And Dottie's the one who's in charge of everything and getting it. And then you start finding out, and we're like, oh, is that Monica Rambeau? And then once you get into the 70s episode and the third one, I mean, she takes a very active role, particularly when she's got her little necklace, which looks like a sword. She goes, right. Well, what is that? And by then, Kat Dennings, you got Darcy, she's viewing all of this and able to see everything going on. And, her and Wanda are having a discussion, and she goes, oh, well, didn't he die during, from Ultron?
Ultron or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, and that was like, who are you? And all of a sudden, and it was just a really good scene. And then she goes, you need to leave. And you see Wanda kick up with all of her powers, her hex powers, which, by the way, you see references to it in every one of the first 4 episodes. They always keep showing, like in their thing, they keep showing hexes. Everything's boxed in like a hex. And I think that refers to the fact that her abilities in the comic are actually hex powers. So I think it's kind of a call out to her creating all of this through her hex powers. And you see her and you see the red, just like in the movies. And she basically throws Monica, pushes her through the wall, all the way through the neighbor's wall, all the way outside of the city, where she just goes flying out and basically gets knocked out. It was awesome.
Yeah, the city has this electromagnetic type barrier. I don't know what it's made out of. It's like an energy barrier around it. And she gets blasted through that as well. Like Dennis said, she basically ejected from it. So you're caught up by the end of episode 4. You're caught up with episode 3 when she gets blasted out. Hey Joe, thanks for joining us, man. We're talking about Wanda Vision.
Hey Joe.
Backtracking, episode 2 was the Bewitched episode. Once again, it was a cute episode. And then episode 3 is the Brady Bunch in the 70s, basically. 70s Brady Bunch vibe. And I mean, the best thing about that episode was, she's pregnant and she pops out the twins, which is great. My big beef, though, is I don't think we needed 3 freaking episodes to get to what they did finally in the 4th episode. They could have literally done a 45-minute first episode of the show and spent 15 minutes on each one. So instead of showing a full, basically sitcom of Dick Van Dyke ripoff and Bewitched ripoff and then Brady Bunch type deal, you could have just done it a 45-minute show, 15 minutes for each, and then boom, episode 2, you get what we got for episode 4. I think I mentioned it to you last week, Dennis. After episode 3, I was like, episode 4 better kick it into gear or I'm going to be really pissed, because I'm getting really annoyed with these not stupid, they were entertaining. So I shouldn't say stupid. They were entertaining, but I just was getting bored, and I don't think they needed to spend that much time with them, even with the little Easter eggs that they showed in each episode. You could have done all that and gotten to episode 4 and even episode 3.
See, and I agree and disagree. I like the fact, because I'm a fan, I grew up on that stuff. So I love the fact that it was like Dick Van Dyke, I Love Lucy. It goes into, the 60s where it's very much like Bewitched. I love the shows. Like I said, they use the exact equipment to film with them to give it that
Yeah.
look. They did a good job. It was very nostalgic. I enjoyed it. The magic show that they put on, and to give you an idea, it's campy like this stuff was back then. Vision eats a piece of bubble gum, swallows it, and you see like a little animated sequence of his gut, and it gets caught up in his gears and makes him act like he's inebriated.
Gums up his works.
Right.
The gum his inner workings. Like I said, I thought it was all done well and cute. I just don't think it needed, for a season that's only going to be 9 episodes, I don't think it needed to kill 3 episodes that way.
Right. So now I enjoyed it, but to give you an idea, my wife, she watched the first 3 and she goes, I'm done. I've checked out. I can't do it anymore. So she's already done. And then I got to watch the episode just a little while ago, the 4th one. I'm like, oh, I think I'm going to make her watch the 4th one, because the 4th one is what brings the first 3, ties it up together with all of these little tiny Easter eggs that they have through it. And it kind of brings everything together and gives us the understanding of what's going on. Because through the first 3, we've got, there's fan hypotheses about everything. So, it's nice to see that we were right or not right on some of the things that they come in on.
Let's see what else we got here. This was a cute scene. I had to explain to my daughter and tell her, yes, back in the 50s, husband and wife slept in twin beds.
Right. And even if they did it in the real world, like my grandparents did and stuff like that, but they couldn't show it on TV. So on TV, it was required that they were always on their own bed. And you notice even the detail, they've got like the lamps, the reading lights right above each of the beds, which was very typical for that time period.
Yep. So, I thought that was cute. Let's see what else we got. She's using her powers because they have Vision's boss over for dinner. So she's using her powers in the kitchen. That's cool. And, I thought Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen both really, I think all the actors really hit home runs with playing specific time periods. I thought when they did the Dick Van Dyke one, the first episode in the 50s, I even told Courtney, I said, you don't know. I said, Courtney, you don't get it. It's my daughter. I said, they're literally acting the way that they acted back then, because the acting styles have changed, obviously, over the years.
Mannerisms, voice and diction, it's all different.
Right. So they, you can tell that they studied that type of stuff. They watched some of those shows so they could get it down. And
so what was interesting in like this one, she had to cook, and it was a disaster. So she wound up using her magic like Bewitched would in order to create a meal. And then they're sitting down. In the next picture, you can see that when they sit down, they're sitting down with the boss and his wife. And of course, Mary Jo Rupp plays, she's from the 70s show. Everybody loves her from that. It was really, really great. And they go, well, where are you from? Why did you get married? Why this? And they couldn't answer questions. And things started going awry. And, you started seeing cracks. So this is where we really start seeing, for those of you who read House of M, this is where I think we start seeing the first cracks in what we think is the world that she created. So now the question becomes, did Wanda create this world in order to bring Vision back in? And this is the purpose of this. Or did somebody else create it and she's in it and manipulating it, but unaware of what she's doing?
Well, I think after watching episode 3 and how she acted towards Monica and basically ejected her from the city, my theory is I think Wanda created this world. She kind of cracked and she wanted Vision back. So she created this world, this idyllic world to get Vision back. Is what I think. I mean, it's the show's definitely a mystery that's unraveling and will be unraveled by the ninth episode, I assume.
Right at the end of this episode, there's another slide, and it comes up, and then while standing outside, this guy comes up out of a manhole, and all of a sudden there's bees buzzing and everything like that around, and he's a beekeeper. And then on this beekeeper, it's got the sword symbol on the back. All right. So now this was the first one in the second episode. All right. This is kind of the cliffhanger. Who is this guy? We know with the symbol on the back that he's sword. What's his ability and who is it? And you don't know. That's kind of how it hangs. Well, immediately there's been a number of theories out there, trying to figure out who he is. A lot of people said could be like the 60s version of AIM. So that's one of the interesting theories out there, is that this person is sword right now, but could eventually become members of AIM. Now, in the next picture, you'll see, for those of you who don't know, the AIM guys are kind of like the henchmen.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. But yeah, AIM are bad guys, right?
Yeah. Yeah, AIM are bad guys. And, I just found a picture as they're kind of climbing up, and they don't have anything to do with bees, but they were kind of like, they're scientists, they're obviously out to dominate the world. Well, this could be one of them that eventually goes to AIM, and this is why they kind of gave him a throwback costume, which is what it would look like in their world. I don't know if I agree with that one, but there's quite a few people out there mentioning, the AIM connection.
I don't know. I want to go out and say they're wrong. And it's just that, because Courtney asked why, so in episode 4, they're trying to get into this city. And one of the ways they try to get into it is they assume that they can go in a sewer underground. And John Woo's character is even like, I think isn't it John Woo that says, well, how do you know? Was it him that said that, or was it just some throwaway guy?
He was talking to the boss going, well, how do you know it goes all the way underground? Right.
But then
it was the boss, and he's like, well, how do you know it doesn't? And so on and so forth. Yeah, it was those two.
Right. So my assumption was it was just a protective suit in general, because they don't know. It's a protective suit. I told Courtney it's almost like a radioactive type suit, because they don't know what's on the other side when they go in there.
Yeah.
So to go in with protection on than nothing. So that was my thing. But
that could be.
Actually,
yeah. They said that could be. Another theory is that it's Fritz von Meyer, and he's an older character, not very well known. He goes by the code name Swarm, and he's full of bees. Now, the picture that we've got is actually when he made an appearance from Runaways on Earth 616. But realistically, I think he predates that. I think he's all the way back from the days of like Champions and stuff like that, back in like 77, 78, somewhere in that time frame. So a lot of people, the greater number of people that I've seen are speculating that it's Swarm. I don't know a whole lot about him, just because I don't think he's that big of a character. And I know he really hasn't crossed over a whole lot into like the X-Men universe.
Well, I guess my question on that theory is, they're theorizing that just because of the bees. I mean, it was weird that like when the guy that goes in the sewers to inspect or whatever crosses over through that barrier, you could say, I guess, that it taps into something, the barrier does, to give them some type of power, maybe, and that's why. I don't know. I just don't know just because the dude because I don't know. I mean, I thought it was weird when he went through that his basically radiation suit, hazmat suit, changed from a hazmat suit to when he went through the barrier, and when he came out on the other side in in the town that was made up or whatever where Wanda is, that it changed to a beekeeper suit. I mean, that was weird,
Right.
and I'm sure it'll be explained, but I don't know. I mean, who knows? Maybe they are trying to pull this guy in. I don't know. I don't think so.
Well, there's a lot of theories going through, and I know on our podcast yesterday, on our live cast, one of the guys, had a lot of questions, and they were kind of referring to, X-Men from some of the Easter eggs. And I didn't see a ton of the Easter eggs personally and stuff like that. But, the question is, what is this show going to be a catalyst for? They leave some hints. So like what's up there now, that's actually the Tony Stark. That's from Stark Industries, the toaster. And they have this red light that's going on, which is pretty interesting. And again, what they do is they put in these really interesting, fun throwback retro commercials, but they all have ties into them. So that was Stark Industries toaster. There's the watch, which is Strucker, which obviously has to deal with, with Hydra. And again, it's a commercial that's in there.
It says, actually, let's say Hydra Loom.
Yeah.
It says Hydra something.
Yep.
And it has the Hydra symbol. Yeah, I thought that was cool. Let's see what else. I mean, that's it. That's Brady Bunch backyard.
Yep. And in the 70s, and then she's pregnant in the third one. I mean, that was kind of the interesting one. We were speculating, is it going to be, the twins from the comics? And because twins do run in her family, and she mentions that. And she's pregnant, her water breaks, and it's just awesome. We don't have a picture of it, but water's raining down from the sky, and it's this blue water from the ceiling and everything like that. It was actually a pretty fun scene, and lo and behold, she has twins.
I will say this was funny. Courtney is like, how can they have babies? He's not real. He's an android. How can Vision and Scarlet Witch have babies?
Wow, so you had to explain the birds into the bees from a mechanical standpoint, huh?
Yeah, it was very difficult to do. I'm like, because it's not real. It's all in her head. That's the easiest way to explain it. I think, going back to the original thing we were talking about of is somebody manipulating this or is Wanda making all this up? I think Wanda's making up this reality. I don't think anybody's doing it. I think she's doing it. So.
Yeah, I am thinking it's very much like House of M, and where she creates the alternate universe. Now, there's been a lot of speculation that Mephisto actually could be the creator of this particular universe, and that he somehow has them trapped in it. Her, the neighbor, Agnes. Monica when she was in there, because Monica was a person when she went in, she became a character. When she got out, she remembered everything. So while you're inside of this made up pocket of reality, you act as a character. Now the question is, who's the marionette?
Wait, you don't think when Monica was in there, she knew all along who she was?
No. I don't. And I don't, by the way, when she was having her conversation and she's like, well, who are you? And she didn't get angry or sad or anything. She went confused, like she's trying to remember, who am I? And then she's like, well, you need to leave now. And she's like, well, what? Why would I want to leave? And that's when she throws her through all the walls and stuff like that. I don't think she really has. I think that was a crack in it. And I think, because remember in the second episode where she's in the black and white episode, she's playing a different character and she's fully involved with it, not knowing who she was at all.
Well, and that's what I was going to say earlier with the fourth episode when we got to it where we are now. I liked how at the sword control center, basically outside of the city where they had the base camp and everything set up, they were using facial recognition to find out who the people are that
Right.
they were seeing in these episodes with Wanda and Vision, and that they're real people. So that
From
leads
that
to another
town.
question. Right. What's that?
From that town. They were actual
Are
real
they
people
from that,
of that
from
town.
that town?
Yep.
Were
That's
they
why they knew who they were, because they knew there's what 23 or 3,200 people could be the getting them backwards. And so they've got the list and pictures and ID of everybody that was in that town. And as soon as they were able to see it, they matched up one of those people and they said,
Right.
well, this is so-and-so, this is so-and-so. And that's what they were doing.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that I thought that was cool.
So
And
this is something I wanted to touch on.
Huh?
Yeah, this is something I want to touch on. This is a theory. We all know that her mother's code name was Photon. All right, we kind of knew that from the Captain Marvel movie. We kind of know that from this. You know, she was one of the founders of S.W.O.R.D. Her mother was, and it even says Photon right on the wall, kind of in her memorial. But you know, in the comic book, she becomes Captain Marvel, later Photon, then Spectrum and stuff like that. But right now, she's just, you know, she's FBI, she's S.W.O.R.D., you know, that type of a thing. She's got no special abilities. So when Wanda uses her hex powers and pushes her out all the way through the city outside, she crosses through that barrier. So this is my prediction. When she lands, and you can go back and rewatch this, she lands on the ground. She just doesn't land and go out. She rolls over and she's got the red glow going around her. Now, when she went through the barrier, so we don't know, I don't know if it's just straight hex power or if it was that combination of going through the portal, but she's got this energy field, this red energy field around her on the ground before she completely goes unconscious, and then you see everybody rush in. My prediction is she gains abilities. Now, I don't know if they'll be the exact abilities from the comic books, but I bet that's how she gets abilities, is going to be from that exact moment in episode 4 when she goes through it. That's what I think.
Yeah, that's exactly what my theory. So before the show, we were talking and we said, well, let's save our theories for the show. I mean, I think that's probably everybody's theory, is when she got ejected out by Wanda, the combination of Wanda's power ejecting her out and crossing over that barrier alters her in some way and gives her the powers. So yeah, I mean, we have the same theory.
Okay.
Or it's a gamma explosion.
A red gamma explosion, except we all know gamma is green.
Or she drinks some super soldier serum that she finds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, moonshine. That'll be in the next episode.
Or her and Brie Larson, Captain Marvel, hook up.
Well, we all know she is going to be in the new Captain Marvel 2. So then the question is, if the theory's right, will she have her powers right now, or will they develop in time for the next movie?
Right. I wouldn't be surprised if they touch on them some in this show. I would hope, even if it's an episode 9, just a tiny bit, something with her hand or something, you know, just a touch on it.
Yeah.
And he has this realization, like, what? And then they leave it like that. I think that would be cool.
Yeah. This was fun. Yeah, it was just to show some of the fun characters that they're bringing in. You know, Jimmy Woo, he was from, I think it was the original Ant-Man, because he was the detective when Paul Rudd was, under house arrest. Or was it the second one? It was the second one, wasn't it?
It was the second one, I think.
Yeah, it was the second one. So he was a really cool character. They brought him back.
I called him John Woo earlier, so his name's Jimmy Woo. Okay.
Jimmy Woo, yeah.
My mistake. I called you John earlier. It's Jimmy Woo. Dude, I totally forgot that he was in Ant-Man. So he
Oh,
got
as soon as I saw him, I started laughing because he was fun and kind of one of those adorable characters from Ant-Man.
well, and he got a promotion because now he's an FBI agent.
Or he became experts with this kind of stuff, and they needed somebody with that, kind of like Darcy. You know, they needed somebody with astrophysics and some of the other abilities, and they're like, well, she's met Thor, she's done this, and boom, they brought her in. And luckily they did a good job with her because, again, she's fun, she's quirky, she just plays a really fun character and needs a little bit of humor injected into it. So it was a good casting for that, as they're trying to figuring out why is Sword bringing in experts in these different fields, because they have no idea what they're dealing with. It's pretty cool.
Right. And then the central character, what's her name? The actress? I can't remember.
Agnes.
No,
her real name?
Yeah.
That's Catherine Hahn.
Yeah, Catherine Hahn is playing Agnes, who we think is Agatha. So
yeah,
I think she is.
It's cool. Like I said, they did a nice job. And all of this stuff with the family, Tom King did a miniseries. And it was a really odd miniseries. I picked it up when it first came out. The art was all right, but I didn't pick it up for the art. It was just a really interesting story. You know, Vision, he's got, you know, a wife and 2 kids, you know, Viv. And they're trying to be normal. They're fitting in like a suburban family and stuff like that. And he built an entire family. And there's so much of them trying to act normal while being completely not normal. It was such an interesting read. It was one of my surprise, unexpected hits at that time. I was going to say, I think it was maybe like 2015. So it's probably about 5 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. But it was really a fun story. And this is what I think they pulled a lot of the flavor, besides being from the 50s, 60s, 70s. The whole aspect of them trying to fit in, I think they're pulling it from Tom King's miniseries.
Yeah, I never read it.
It's good.
Here's another commercial nod for Hydra Soak.
Yeah, that's from the 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know that she is going to be in this?
Yep. So it's been confirmed apparently that that Wanda is going to be in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. So this starts up the big conversation. And like I said, some of the guys on our podcast yesterday were asking some questions, and we said we kind of got to wait till today, you know, since we're going to be dealing with this. There's a lot of theories of what's going to happen, because Doctor Strange is going to deal with the multiverse, you know, so it's the first time that it's really going to be really touched upon in the cinematic universe. So, you know, my gut feeling from what I've seen, because it's like, how are they bringing in, you know, how are they going to bring in the X-Men and stuff like that? Multiverse, I think she's creating this universe right now. It's going to be like House of M. I think this will lead into the happenings of the multiverse in Doctor Strange. And my feeling is whatever happens in that, because of Wanda, I think that's how they'll wind up bringing in the X-Men. That's going to be my gut feelings. X-Men for sure, maybe X-Men and Fantastic Four, you know, but this is strictly dealing with the mutants.
And then here's a little fan theory stuff we found on it with because somebody said something about X-Men Easter eggs. And I was just like, where are you talking about? So Dennis found this, which is curious. I mean,
so basically, when you look at it, they're holding flags. So think of like an aircraft carrier. You know, when the aircraft carrier, when they hold them, they go into, they mean certain things. So what I found interesting was, you know, that one of the guys, and he took screenshots of this, basically said he thinks it's spelling out X-Men based on that. It's an interesting theory. from what he showed, it supports it. I haven't been paying a whole lot of attention.
That is, I got to be honest, that is hardcore looking at stuff. You know what I mean? Because I don't look that hard at stuff.
It's obviously somebody who's got a working knowledge, maybe used to be on an aircraft carrier, served in the military, or, whatever the case may be. But anyway, that is one of the theories. I did not see a lot of the Easter eggs that people are talking about, but that is interesting if it's true.
This is somebody that definitely has a lot of time on their hands. See what I did?
Oh, I see what you did there. I see
time on their hands. That's right. I went there. I don't mind. I did it. And then it's just I don't know, Dennis, you just like to load up pictures of stuff.
Well, no, this was somebody had put out there, and I thought it was really cool because it's from the House of M, where she says no more mutants.
I know.
And I enjoyed it because you've got the comic book side on the left, and you've got the MCU on the right. And when she's saying that, basically, somebody decided this was a cool way to show it. She's going to meld the two universes together.
By saying no more mutants?
By saying no more mutants, So somebody put that out there. I'm like, I really enjoyed that. I thought it was very creative what they did, because that's what they're trying to do. They're going to bring in which version of the X-Men, which Fantastic Four, probably all new characters. There's been a lot of speculation on that. But
not all new characters, but new actors.
Actors for the characters, yes. Well, we don't know what characters they're going to bring in or anything.
Oh, yes, we do. If they do the X-Men, they're going to do Cyclops. They're going to do Wolverine. They're going to do Jean Grey, most likely. Storm. They're going to do all the big ones. They're not going to come out of the gate.
Well, yeah, they're obviously going to do Phoenix because she's the best in the MCU.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, I seriously doubt they're going to come out of the gate and go, all right, guys, this is it. It's time to introduce the X-Men to the MCU. Let's kick it off with Boom Boom or Armor. They're not going to do that. Of course, they're going to use those.
Yeah, but they can go Havoc. They can go Psylocke. They can. It doesn't have to be the original core. We'll see what they do.
I think they'd be making a big mistake if they didn't go with the original core, because that's what everybody knows. Even because in my mind, if you're playing for the theatrical people that know the theatrical stuff so well, those are the X-Men they know. They've got to pull from the X-Men that most people know from the movie-going audience, and it's the main core original team, because those were the ones in the movie. And that's what people think of if you go to somebody that doesn't read comics but has seen the movies and you're like, name a few X-Men, they're going to go, okay, Cyclops, Wolverine, Jean Grey.
Yeah, Storm,
right. That's my point. Probably even Nightcrawler, Beast, because that's what they remember from the movies. So if they're going to bring them in to the MCU, I think they have to use those characters. If Hugh Jackman's out, okay, fine, recast Wolverine. I mean, Deadpool doesn't have to be recast, because Deadpool 1 and 2 are still within the past 5 years.
Well, they've already said that
X-Men movies
is being rolled in, so it is going to be part of the Marvel universe as is. So I do think that's pretty cool.
But they're not going to. I can't see them bringing in the same actors that played the X-Men in like Death of Phoenix. Yeah, no. I mean, it'd be nice for the actors, but I just have a feeling, because that movie sucked so bad.
Yeah, X3 or the last Dark Phoenix, yes, they were both horrid.
They were horrible, which with Dark Phoenix was really bad, because the two before that, first X-Men or whatever it was called, I can't remember, and the one after that really weren't that bad. And it was the same actors, but, you kind of got to wash that stink off, and to wash the stink off, you do recasting.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see what they do. But I do think that's how they'll bring the X-Men in. That's kind of my guess. We got a long way. Everything could change, from episode to episode. This one gave us a whole lot of information that we just talked about. So maybe it confirmed some stuff, maybe changed a few minds. We'll see where it goes on there. But I really do think this show ends up tying into the Doctor Strange movie. That is what opens up, in my view, as of right now, X-Men, Fantastic Four, bringing everything back in.
Right. Yeah, episode 4 got me reinvigorated to watch the show. If this was just going to be a 1980s sitcom episode, I might have had to bail, but it's got me reinvigorated. I as a rating on our CGC scale, I'd give it a rating of probably overall a 7. All 4 episodes combined, I'd probably just go with 7.
Yeah, I would say the first 3 together, I had about at a 5.0. I was like, I could give her or leave the show. Yeah. I wasn't that interested in it. But this 4th episode was probably about a 9.0 just because it filled in so much and it made me interested in it because I was losing interest. My wife's already given up on the show. I'm going to say I'm probably at about a 7.5 now. I want to see where they're going with it. And if they can continue this and develop this, I'll be interested in it. But they kind of have to. They have to tie into the real world stuff. They told us to be patient. There will be a payoff. So far, there was a payoff as of today's episode. We'll see what they do with it. I'm interested.
Yep. Very good. Well, that is our show for the day. We hope you guys enjoyed our talking about WandaVision.
If you've got your own theories or anything that you want to discuss, you can go to our Facebook page and leave us comments, and we'll bring them up during the next podcast.
Yep. Please share them with us. Until next time, we're out of here. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.